it's going to take a little while for anybody to gel. You don't have your best stuff in week one. But we weren't out there playing against some bottom 5 defense, folks. This is the Baltimore Ravens defense. And the Chiefs put up 27, and all I saw all night was people bitching about how bad they were in the red zone and should have had 3 more touchdowns on the night or something. And
we're back. Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
That's right, folks. The show's called Amateur Hour. I am Ryan Scott Hall, and joining me today, if you want a tow, he can get you a tow. It's his Dirkness, ladies and gentlemen. What's up?
So,
you know, Dirk Mella, happy Friday.
Hey.
Pretty excited to be sitting down, honestly, less than 24 hours after Chiefs Ravens. We haven't done this since like when we were doing post game.
We need some drunk guys to call in, give some hard analysis.
Dude, what an absolutely chaotic experience trying to take phone calls.
And at a time of day when that was not easy to do. I think it's pretty easy to do nowadays, but was it speakerphone? Were we doing speakerphone? Oh no, it was with like an app on the computer or something, wasn't it?
We had it was so crazy. It was still connected to my cell phone somehow. I can't even remember the name of the service, but Blogspot, I don't even know. I will tell you though, folks, you think that what you see now is Amateur Hour. You have no idea just how amateur things have been in the past.
Hell yeah.
Well, Dirk, how'd those Ravens tears taste last night, buddy?
Oh, those were delicious. You know, my preferred late night snack is Cheez-Its of the extra toasty or pepper jack variety. But last night, I got to tell you, I didn't get into that box. It sits right by my couch. I'm on it every single night. I was full last night. I was feasting on the Ravens tears, a new salty snack delight for the midnight treat. And it was delicious. I couldn't believe their comments after the game. They sounded like we played the game. It was a close game. It was a great game. Fantastic. Couldn't have been more dramatic. Barely out by a toe. You need a toe. I can get you a toe. Those tweets were flying around. And then, man, the Ravens, I think, just built the game up in their minds as this is our moment. This is our revenge. You know, we shouldn't have lost these guys last year. We didn't play great in that game, which they're right about. And so I think they put a lot of their eggs in the basket of this game. Like, this is when we make our statement. And to get that close and to fall short, I think just hit a lot of them right in their feelings. And some of those quotes were absurd, and I was loving it.
It's really interesting to me that the Ravens, although I would say most of the game, they were playing more composed than the last time we saw the Ravens in January.
Hard not
to. Precisely. But it seemed like they didn't necessarily learn anything from that game. Justin Tucker still warming up down on the Chiefs' end, right in the middle of everything. Don't understand the decision. Don't really know what he's doing. And you get comments leading up to the game that I think were maybe a little bit overblown. People maybe taking some things out of context on the Chiefs side about things that came out of the Ravens' mouths. But they continued to be this fake tough team throughout the game, really doing this borderline stuff with Mahomes every time he's nearing the sideline. And I just didn't, I don't know. That looked and sounded afterward, which is, really, I think where a lot of the focus is lying, like a team worried about all the wrong things. I mean, where from the Ravens is the accountability? Where is, honestly, even just that competitive nature of if we want to be the best, we have to be the best. But instead, you get Isaiah Likely, who had the game of his life. Obviously, the toe would have been a little bit better for him, but like he was still sensational. And then he like F-bombs fans on his way up the tunnel. And then it's standing in front of a microphone, maybe for the first time in his life. I don't know that he's ever had like a podium game before. But he's standing up there and he says, if this is the best you have, good luck in the playoffs. And it's like, buddy, you fucking lost this game, right? like if this is the best you have, good luck in the playoffs.
It makes sense if the Chiefs are saying that. Like if the Chiefs win in the playoffs last year and then the Chiefs lose and then they come back like, okay, we took your shot now, but we'll see you in the playoffs kind of thing. Like, okay, that makes sense because, the Chiefs beat them in the playoffs. So they still kind of have a leg up on them. But no, they lose in the playoffs and lose last night and then call us out for our bets not being good enough. Like, well, when are we going to see your best? Or when are we going to see that? When did that happen? It was just the most absurd comment. We got old tough guy. He's sad. Roquan trying to fight Hendershot. Is that his name? Peyton Hendershot making a good impression by lightly tapping him on the back. And Roquan takes great offense to that after plowing our quarterback over, 5 feet past the sideline. And takes great offense to this guy in street clothes who just lightly taps him on the back and he's going to fight him later? He's going to fight him at a game when he sees him later? Is that the idea? Good luck on that, buddy.
Yeah, I was thinking of calling it the Hendershot heard round the world, which might be like a little too strained. I don't know. But, he certainly, I think, instantly goes from somebody that we don't really know a whole lot about, we don't necessarily think a whole lot about, to I love this guy. I love this guy. Having Mahomes' back, like that's always, that's what we liked about Cam Irving. Like,
Cam Irving, I knew it. I knew it was coming.
Instantly hop in there if you do something to Patrick Mahomes. And so I'm all for that. Do you remember? I saw it from you. What did Micah Parsons say about Peyton Hendershot? Did he say something like, because Hendershot played with the Cowboys, and I want to say that he and Parsons maybe were in the same draft class. But Parsons tweeted something like, too bad nobody knows Roquan Smith's name, but Peyton Hendershot is like household or something. It was fantastic work from Micah Parsons on Twitter.
No, I don't think that was Micah Parsons. I think it was just a random account. I think it was just a funny little.
Truly?
Yeah,
I think it was. I thought I saw a tweet from Micah Parsons.
I think his name was like Micah Parsons Fan Club or something. But it was still a great tweet because everybody had to look. Even Chiefs fans didn't know who it was, and I even looked up the roster, who 88 was, and it's like, is this Tony Gonzalez? No, not Tony Gonzalez. And no, he's not even listed on the roster because Hendershot doesn't have a number on the Chiefs roster yet. But yeah, I think word went around that it was him. That is his number when he joins the squad. And what a first impression. You need those guys, man. If you're hitting Mahomes down on the Chiefs sideline, you should get pummeled. And I don't care if we get offsetting penalties at that point. You should not be allowed to do that, and you should be standing up to it. And at first I thought it was like a staffer, like some equipment guy or something like, look, yeah, promote that guy. Who is it from the Eagles? Dom. I thought we had our own Dom from the Eagles situation. That would have been great. But no, it was great to see, and I'm glad at least someone stood up for Mahomes. As for that hit that was way out of bounds. Think about how further out of bounds that was than like the Bengals hit that ends up deciding an AFC Championship game. Like it was like 3, 4, 5 feet more across the sideline, absurdly late. And of course he's whining about it after the game.
Yeah, look, I will say, if we just want to kind of look at the game as a whole, I think that the Ravens, they played well. They really did. Particularly on offense, I thought Lamar was sensational, except for, a few plays.
Except for when it mattered most?
I think that's probably where a lot of people are going to go. I would not be surprised. Our dear friend Nick Wright, I can only imagine what he had to say today. I would think it's probably something along the lines of like, Lamar can't win when it counts, right? Like I would think that that's probably what it is because, he's pretty atrocious historically in the playoffs. Yeah. And then you're seeing this, end of game issue here, which, I don't even know that they necessarily did anything wrong, but I will say that each time that they didn't go to clock the football and just let it run, and I'm like, wait, you're just going to lose 20 seconds here? I was very happy as a Chiefs fan, and you don't necessarily want to make opposing fans happy, especially in end of game situations. I wonder, Dirk, if stepping away from this game, like what is it that you're thinking about? We're about 24 hours later. Like, what has been on your mind, since you woke up today thinking about that game? Is there anything that is really like out front for you, or is it just the fact that maybe everybody's been talking about how the Ravens handled themselves? Well,
a couple things. Let me talk about the Ravens first, and then I got a Chiefs point of something that just kind of stuck with me. There was a lot of Lamar praise for him being like skinny and more elusive. And it was kind of like, if he looks like this in the 2023 AFC Championship game, they probably win, which I think is probably accurate. But the point is that it's extremely hard to be that fresh in January. Like, they kept talking about how like him losing weight is going to help him somehow, but isn't that going to hurt him in terms of staying healthy? Not to mention running 18 times or whatever he did. Which I get it for a big game. Like, you want Lamar to run like that. And that's what everybody wanted from him last year in the AFC Championship game. And he didn't do it. And so maybe his body wasn't feeling fresh. His legs aren't fresh because it's late in the season and he's a small quarterback who runs all the time. He gets hurt like half the seasons he's been in the NFL. So this is the problem with Lamar. I don't think being skinny is going to help it. And I don't think he'll be able to look like that come January unless he just gets really lucky or is almost like out for a period of time and then is able to come back fresh in January. So yeah, I thought he looked good for most of the game, but it is kind of the story of his career that doesn't get it done when it matters most because, man, those throws at the end, those were horrendous. Like, he has likely on that one and he just sails it out of the back and he has so much room to the short side of the end zone. He is open. He is open on that second down play and just throws it up too high and leaves him too much. The third down one, I totally don't understand, but maybe the most flummoxing remark coming out of the postgame last night was him saying that he was targeting Bateman on that play and not Zay Flowers, who was wide open. I still don't know how that works. It doesn't make him look any better because Bateman's like hardly even in the screen, so I don't know how that was whatever. I saw someone say like Lamar's like body works too fast for his mind, and that almost is kind of like what it looks like. Like, he's just like reacting too fast, which is part of what makes him great. But then like in that play, you kind of have two guys kind of coming. Well, only one was wide open. The other one was pretty covered, but he kind of saw something. And he's just kind of like doing two things at once and just kind of like throws it in the middle. And it's just like, well, what was that? So I think that might kind of be the problem. But I could see problems for the Ravens ahead, man. If you put that many eggs in one basket and then you lose, like, they seem demoralized. It was a lot of victim mentality. Like, I'm telling you to watch out for that. They play the Raiders next week. And I know the Raiders aren't going to be very good, but they can be physical. We've seen that. And that's kind of a dangerous game coming off this loss where you're all offseason, you look forward to this game, you lose it, and you're like, okay, that's fine. We can beat the Raiders. And it doesn't just happen like that. And then after that, they go Dallas, Buffalo, and Cincinnati the next three games. So just keep an eye on the Ravens over the next 4 weeks. It could be a little troubling.
Yeah, I don't disagree. You've got some great stuff in there. I'm of two minds right now because I think that like Lamar was impressive, but he didn't do anything that we haven't seen before, right? Dynamic with his legs. And you make a great point that because right now he's fresher than he's ever going to be. It's like they always say, like, week one is the healthiest you're going to be all year long. And so this idea, I mean, the comment that he made about the playoff game, if I had been fully healthy, we would have won that game and whatever. It's like, dude, no one is fully healthy in January. And not to mention the fact that this guy, you could say that like whether he bulks up to try to be able to take, more punishment or he slims down in order to, be lighter on his feet or whatever, like, in either case, he still has the immune system of like a 5-year-old. The dude gets sick every single year and ends up missing games because fucking Lamar has mono or something. I don't know. This is not a guy that, I mean, we're in the privileged position of having Patrick Mahomes, who will go down as being, probably the most revered quarterback of all time. Lamar has won 2 MVPs, one of which was unanimous. And he, to me, seems like a very rare and very special player. But ultimately he's gonna be, somebody that I don't think ends up winning a championship. And
it's no coincidence that he has his worst games in January when he's probably his least healthiest, when he's not at his quickest. So he has his worst games then when he doesn't have his most dangerous weapon, his legs, at full health. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's just the full season playing out. And it's, coincide that with Mahomes, who 2 years ago wins the Super Bowl on this hurt ankle where he's limping around every single game and able to gut it out, but he has like something else to go to. And so I think that's just kind of one of the big differences between them, especially come January.
One last thing on Baltimore, and then we'll take a quick break. I do think that the Ravens probably came into, whether it's this game or this season, saying that like maybe early in the year we can do a lot of Lamar, and late in the year we're going to really start to lean on Derrick Henry. I can tell you what, if they are running their offense the same way as they were last night, it was way too easy for the Chiefs to know what was going to happen on any given play. Lamar, the scrambling around and stuff, obviously, like if we didn't have a spy, like it made it easy for him. Justice Hill outsnapped Derrick Henry last night. He was difficult to cover as a receiver, and I mean, I think that was known, but like 32-year-old Derrick Henry, 33, whatever he is now, he looked slow. He did not look particularly powerful. And even though the Ravens ran the ball really well, that was pretty much all Lamar Jackson. Their running game was not a threat last night at all. I thought the Chiefs, frankly, especially in the first half, I thought our defensive line absolutely bullied them. So the Ravens may have some plans for this year, but I don't know if they're going to be able to execute it the way that it's maybe mapped out on paper.
And the Chiefs don't have like an especially like great run defense.
No.
Like they can show up at times, but they, traditionally, especially under Andy Reid, have just not been. They've been like middle of the road or worse at run defense. Like they don't prioritize it. So the Ravens theoretically should have had some room, but like think about those Derrick Henry lines in Tennessee. He had like this powerful mauling offensive line that kind of, worked with him. Baltimore has a lot of questions on the offensive line right now. So it's a lot of just like running into piles, and instead of like falling forward, there's just too many bodies and it's just kind of, 1 or 2 yards and going down. It's just, he can't get momentum started because the line isn't opening up, isn't moving the defensive line back. So I don't see it. Plus it's just not prime Derrick Henry, obviously. So yeah, I agree that I'm not scared of Derrick Henry on the Ravens.
It's not prime Derrick Henry, but it is prime time for a break. We'll be right back.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone in any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts with you. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/AHPKC. That's mintmobile.com/AHPKC. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/AHPKC. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are partnered with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Kansas City. No better organization for amateur hour to work with. And if you're looking for a way to make a big impact here in Kansas City, the Boys and Girls Clubs need sponsors for their sports teams and leagues. You can help out local kids and promote your business at the same time all throughout the metro. Just send an email to giving@helpkckids.org for more information. And they'll get you set up. And we would certainly appreciate it if you guys would try to step out and do some good here in the community.
And do you love sports? I mean, I know I love sports. I love football, and I missed football, and I am so happy that football is back. But you want to share your love by coaching local youth? Our partners this year, Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Kansas City, need your help today. Beyond after-school programming, and clubs offer leagues for baseball, softball, basketball, flag football, and more. Just visit helpkckids.org and click on volunteer for more information. Getting into coaching. You kind of asked me earlier what was kind of sticking with me. One random thing I just wanted to talk about, and just it's a great time to be a Chiefs fan. Like obviously things are coming up Chiefs. The turns in fortune last week, the foot just slightly being out of bounds. Obviously, I mean, how many times growing up did that inch just not go our way? And if we just sit there and think about that inch, like, oh man, if things were just a little bit different, we could have done this. We could have won this game. We could have done whatever. And it's just like, it seemed to go against us so many times. And now you see that kind of play go in our favor. And it's also just like, think of like the Patriots. You always thought about like, oh, they're always fucking getting lucky. And it's just wild to be like in that position now. The second play, similar to that one's pretty obvious, but the Mahomes tipped pass, when that thing is in the air, all I can see is a pick six coming. Like, oh no, because Mahomes basically has Rice, and he's going to hit him, and he should be able to get the first down, and the game's going to end. The Ravens dude makes a great play. I'm not sure. I think it's Simpson, whoever that is, tips the ball up in the air, and it's just like, because we're in control of the whole game. Like, the whole game is going our way. Even punting here, we're fine. And then Mahomes jumps up, heroically catches the ball, and it's just like, man, it just saw pick six, interception, all these things that could go wrong, and yet this one, less about luck and more about just like making a play, and Mahomes just going up to get that, which stops an interception, and because he catches it, keeps the clock running, runs down to the 2-minute warning, and think about how vital those 25, 30 seconds could have been at the end of that game with the Ravens down there. Like, they could have been running the ball, they could have had much more time to do whatever. So that ends up being just a huge play. And so 2 plays that's just kind of symbolize the turn in fortune for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I will say, as the game has started to digest a little bit, one of the things that's really sticking with me from last night is the Chiefs just looked really, really crisp on offense to me. It looked easy. I feel like you actually wanted to kind of have a discussion about this. So I don't want to dig in too deep, but that's really like what is kind of front of mind.
So let's get into it here. Okay, so we're going to start a new, hopefully reoccurring segment here. We're going to call it Yes, No, Maybe. So I'm going to kind of pose a question, and then I'm going to give a very simple reason why the answer would be yes, simple reason why the answer would be no, and then a simple answer why it might be maybe. So the yes, no, maybe of this week is, are the high-flying Chiefs back after last night? So yes, Patrick Mahomes averaged 10.4 yards per attempt. That is highest since 2022 versus San Francisco, including regular season and playoffs. That's 33 games. His highest yards per attempt in 33 games. That's pretty wild.
Is no 22 game against San Francisco. Is that the McKinnon long touchdown that was like a little floater?
I think that was Denver. It was, we hit MVS
on that a long touchdown against San Francisco.
Well, we had like a Charvarius Ward double move where MVS kind of like almost like a in and go. So there was a deep one to MVS, but it was the one Mahomes throws an interception early, and then he gets really excited because San Francisco's not playing two deep safeties, which he had been seeing for like a year and a half straight at that point. And he comes to the sideline and he gets excited, like they're gonna bring a safety down in the box on me, and then he just starts zinging it all over.
I think this was the Bosa torture chamber game.
Yes,
they just threw everything at him, and he even talked about it after the game. Like I couldn't do it.
Correct.
Okay.
So that was yes. No. The deep TD to Xavier Worthy, it was a blown assignment by Baltimore.
Sure.
It wasn't really Casey's work. Everything else was really, kind of a short throw or, happens on like an improvised scramble from Mahomes. So we really didn't get to see like, inside the offense, like deep work. It wasn't like it was manufactured. It was all just kind of like schoolyard or a blown assignment by Baltimore on that one. Maybe the Chiefs' multitude of weapons is opening up more space for everybody, which will lead to these bigger plays. Like the reason that we didn't see him last year is because we didn't have all these weapons and they were able to sit back and pin their ears on what we had underneath. And so there was no space to work any of this deep stuff. And so that's the maybe, and that is yes, no, maybe. Are the high-flying Chiefs back?
Is there a no in there? I don't know.
Yeah, the no was the deep touchdown blown assignment.
Oh, okay. It was just a blown coverage. Okay. I mean, look, pardon me confirming my priors, but the Chiefs are going to be the best offense in the NFL this year. Like that's just where I'm at. Everything about last night made me feel even more confident. I know that this is a new coordinator, and they've probably got a few new pieces out there that they're trying to integrate, and it's going to take a little while for anybody to gel. You don't have your best stuff in week one, but we weren't out there playing against some bottom five defense, folks. This is the Baltimore Ravens defense, and the Chiefs put up 27. And all I saw all night was people bitching about how bad they were in the red zone and should have had 3 more touchdowns on the night or something. And
we're back.
Like that was a team that, I mean, they had 9 possessions. I think they only ran 51 plays. They didn't have a single drive go over 5 minutes. I mean, they were just, it was a couple punts and an interception. And other than that, they're putting points on the board, and frankly, probably should have had more touchdowns than they did. I thought that it was exquisite. It was absolutely wonderful to watch them operate like a well-oiled machine instead of all of the clunky crap that we watched last year. And our quarterback says openly and honestly, we had no fun at all. Well, I tell you what, I had fun last night. It was really fun.
It was.
And I'm sitting here thinking like, my God, man, did they watch Rashid Rice at all? Like, do the Ravens know what's happening here? He's open on a slant, like basically every play. And then he's able to gain 10, 12 more yards after he catches the ball. Like, and I'm sitting here thinking, my God, they're not even at full strength.
Yeah.
Hollywood's not on the field right now, and I just the league is in trouble. And I know, I'll say this, and I hope everyone out there listening, I hope you hear my heart in this. Buckle up, folks. I think that there may never be an offensive season like you're about to see from the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that people have.
I don't know about that.
I think that people have talked about how the Chiefs needed to come out last night against Baltimore and make a statement. And the way that I don't know. I mean, people see the like week one stuff from Andy. It's like when Andy doesn't pull back anything in the game script, it's normally like week 1, 2, or 3 against some big non-division but AFC opponent. Like they've really cranked it up a few times where we're putting up 35 or 40 points.
Well, and also I think they're at a big advantage because not a lot of the teams play their guys in preseason, and Andy is still steadfast on, he has a tough training camp, and then he plays his guys in preseason, and that gives us an advantage in these early games. And you think back like, well, what about week 1 versus Detroit last year? I think that's more of a case of just not having Travis Kelce and Chris Jones and having a pick six go right through Tony's hands and, Detroit scoring on that. So I don't think that's like indicative of these early season Chiefs when they always come out. I mean, Arizona the year before, we just lit them the hell up.
Exactly.
And we do that a lot in early season, and especially week 1.
And if you go through and look at, how they perform right out of the gate, I mean, Mahomes is practically untouchable. The only game he's lost is that game against Detroit in, I think, his entire September career, or did he lose 2 in September?
He's got a few. No, he's got a few in there. Baltimore 1 year with the Clyde fumble.
Oh, that's right. But at any rate, I think the people were maybe thinking like this could be, it's certainly an opportunity for the Chiefs offense to make a statement with some of these new toys out there. I don't think that there's any team in the league that watched the Chiefs last night and said, oh yeah, this is going to be our year. Like, I'm sorry, folks. You watch that offense and you know that there is a rookie playing left tackle. You know that one of the starting wide receivers is not on the field, and also the guy that had 2 touchdowns on like 3 touches, he's 21 years old. So
I think I think it's super important that they kind of showed off their new toy early on, like establish Xavier Worthy and his speed, so that is something that is in the forefront of defensive coordinators' minds going forward. Like, okay, we can't key on like Kelce or Rashid Rice, like only them. We have to be thinking about this kid who can be running over the top or running reverses with 13 lead blockers out in front of them. We want that at the forefront of their mind, so it's just everything's more difficult to defend. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, Rashid Rice had all this open room underneath in the game where we have more speed on the field. And we still don't even have Marquise out there. But it was still like, we were kind of, it seemed like we were going empty a lot and then creating like him one-on-one versus the linebacker. So I really feel like this was like an offensive, like Andy scheme thing. Like he saw something that's just going to get Rashid Rice, the linebacker, over and over and over again. And fuck, how many times did we do that? Like 5, 6, 7 times? Like we hit him on slants over and over. And Rashid, I was, a little bit bullish in our preview show of just like, I don't know if he takes that next step necessarily. Man, I thought he looked quicker this year. I thought he looked quick. I thought he looked explosive. I really liked what I saw out of him. Obviously, it's going to get tougher for him. It's just not going to just be wide open slants the whole time. Like that was kind of the basis of like, I want to see more of a route tree from him. Which we didn't really see last night, but we did see, I thought we saw like a more explosive Rashid Rice.
Rashid Rice. Let's just say that performance last night had me looking up the single season record for receptions for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's 111. Tony
G or Kelce?
I'd have to go back and look. I want to say it's Tony G, but 111, I believe, was the number. Boy, that's in reach. He is going to spend a lot of time in the slot for this team.
It's Tyreek. It's Tyreek Hill. And then Travis, Tony, Travis, Tony, Travis, Tyreek.
There we go. Cool. Tyreek. Yeah, and you know what? That was actually probably his last year here too, wasn't it?
Jeremy Maclin. Jeremy Maclin's the next name on the list besides those 3.
I think Rashid Rice is. I mean, I think honestly, like one of the ads from the last show that we did was like Rashid Rice to the moon. They're out here trying to promote Amateur Hour with me talking about how much I'm expecting from Rashid Rice.
Nailed it.
So. Again,
is he going to go further than the moon now? Is he going to go to Mars or something? Is it Rashid to Mars now?
Yes.
Rashid to Neptune.
Is of the starship Rashid Rice's price. I'm trying to figure that one out. I'm curious Dirk, I mean, I'm thinking that neither you nor I are truly qualified to talk about the offensive line portion of last night. But, I mean, I guess I wasn't, like, thrilled with the protection. But, again, it's the Baltimore Ravens. Like, I thought Kingsley, honestly, kind of held his own. He was fine. No real complaints coming out of it.
Well, I think maybe the idea is that they don't have the best edges, and more of their pushes in the middle. I saw a lot of love. Obviously, they have the Matabuki guy, and then their other D tackle, Travis Scott, I want to say, is that his name? Or is that the Raptor?
And he was, I think it was Travis Hunter, maybe. I can't remember.
That's the Colorado dude. I think it's Travis Scott. A lot of praise for him making noise in the middle. So I have on my list here offensive line concerns because Kingsley, I don't think he gave up the sack. I'm not sure it was entirely his fault. It was one of those like really deep drops from Mahomes. So I didn't really see offensive line guys get into it, but it did seem like he dropped back like 11 or 12 yards, which is, as Mitch Schwartz is the one I kind of see talking about a lot, but that's too deep of a drop and you want to kind of not go that far back. So that one I thought was questionable, but he did get beat, a couple times. He's a rookie in his first game. I was not mad about the Kingsley performance, but, we also couldn't run the ball. Pacheco only went 15 for 45. I'm sure the Ravens do have a good run defense. Tooney actually gave up a pressure that led to that Mahomes interception coming up the middle, which we talked about. That's the kind of the Ravens' strength, but just not used to seeing that from Tooney. For him giving up, he's considered the best pass blocking guard in the NFL. So not used to seeing that too much. And then Jawan Taylor, your boy, already on pace to shatter his penalties record from last year. 2 last night. He's on pace for 34 this year. You need to... So there are some questions.
He might break his own record, but who's actually going to be ahead of him in the standings? Ronnie Stanley. Yeah, 0 illegal formation. I couldn't believe the turn. I couldn't believe how many times they called it. Was it 3 times on the opening drive? It was like 3 illegal formation on the opening drive, 2 on Stanley and 1 on their right tackle. And I thought, honestly, their right tackle was way further back than Ronnie Stanley most of the game.
I didn't think they were far back at all. I was confused on what I was seeing. That's more than Jawan got last year. And like last year was more about like Collinsworth talking about it. And then he got flagged like once or twice. I don't totally remember, but it felt like maybe once or twice. And then Collinsworth talking about it a ton. They got at least 4, maybe 5 illegal formations in the night. And we didn't get any, which, was Jawan's big issue last year. So that was a wild change of scenery. I couldn't believe I was like, what?
Well, what I saw in terms of people complaining was that he's moving early, not that he's lined up like further back, right? And so I don't remember who it was. I want to say it's maybe Mitch. He put out like this it's teeny tiny movement of like, as soon as Creed moves the ball, Jawan Taylor rocks backward. Like he's got it synced up in this way. And like that is offensive lineman craft, right? Like you as an opposing fan can get pissed all you want, but it is literally just timing the snap. He's anticipating and gets the timing right more than he's lining up in that position that honestly most tackles have been doing for a long time.
I will say I thought like he did get called for the false start. I thought it was like the 5th least egregious false start he had on the night. I didn't even see that one. I saw like 4 other ones very clearly. Like, yeah, that went early. But so that was I think it was more of a flinch than like a full body. It's like if it's the full body, it just seems like, oh, he was just with the snap. But if it's like that one was kind of like his arm flinching or something, so it's like
the refs, they have this uncanny ability to try to make games about themselves or like about the rules. And last night, hey, we're emphasizing this. Everybody knew that this was going to be the case, and Baltimore didn't handle it in the eyes of the refs the right way. I don't think that the refs are going to be calling games that close. The further and further we get into the season and ultimately the postseason, they're not going to be flagging stuff like that. I think we've always seen, even in like the year that they were emphasizing pass interference, it was like there was 65 pass interference penalties in week 1 and never more than 25 in any other week the rest of the year. And I'm just spitting out numbers, but you guys get the idea. They will probably be really heavy-handed to try to nip all those things in the bud and then coast most of the rest of the year, would be my guess.
Yeah. It will be interesting. Yeah, if tackles have to push further up, will that lead to more sacks? Like
I would think so.
Around the edge?
It's essentially it is like the defense is complaining that all of the rules are favoring the offense, and this is almost a way that the referees are trying to even the playing field, because like the offensive line, it's almost like the center is at the top of this bow, and your tackles are is that working? It's a visual thing that, for our audio listeners is not going to work. Whatever.
We're nailing it. We're nailing it.
It looks great to me, I think.
Flying V.
It's, yes.
Flying V, a flat flying V.
But it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be like 180 degrees. Like they're supposed to be straight, really, but, whatever.
Yeah, make them line up straight. Yeah.
This is how we talk about the offensive line. Welcome to Amateur Hour, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like we should talk about the defense.
Let's get
we
to
haven't
it.
necessarily mentioned the Chiefs defense, so let's do that before we get out of here. Can I just at least acknowledge the fact that it looked like Chris Jones was playing against a greeter at Walmart? Hi, welcome to the Ravens backfield. Hi, welcome to the Ravens backfield. I mean, like, I thought
accent.
I thought it was just, it's like that poor right guard, he's trying to get his hands out there on Chris Jones, and it's just one swipe and he is past him. And this is a guy that's 6'6", 300 plus pounds. Like, he is just so different. And the amount of money that we gave him, I think there was probably like a little bit of pearl clutching when everybody saw the contract this offseason. He's worth every penny. He's worth every single penny that the Chiefs paid him. And the way that all of our other defensive linemen get to just play one-on-one, like that Chris Jones is the person that gets all of the attention and opens up these other guys to be able to do what they do. God, I love him. And he was just immense last night. The Ravens had no answer for Chris Jones.
They did have one answer. Justice Hill held his own against Chris Jones on multiple snaps. The last 2 snaps for the Ravens, I believe, or maybe the second or last and third last. But they had Justice Hill end up one-on-one with Chris Jones, who's kind of lined up like over to the side of the right tackle. It was a really weird, it was almost like they wanted him to get in and then Lamar started running around and creating chaos. Like that was the play call. Like, we don't want him to play structured, on this final play. We want pressure and then him to run around and kind of draw the coverage in and make a play that way. It was almost like it was designed like that, because why else would you just have, on back-to-back plays, have Justice Hill end up with Chris Jones? Like, my eyes lit up when I saw that, but like, Lamar is so damn quick running around in the backfield. Like, Chris Jones just can't do much, in open space against Lamar. So it was kind of weird to see that. It might be like one of those like people versus animal fight scenarios that I think Maddie likes to use a lot. Because like the Justice Hill versus Chris Jones thing, like if Chris Jones is going against a real offensive lineman, it feels in some ways like a more fair fight, at least. But I don't know what to compare Justice Hill to in this animal scenario. It might be like the 10,000 rats or something. But I mean, he is so small that it might have just been like awkward. I mean, if Chris Jones's belly button is at Justice Hill's eye level, it's like, just get out of the way. Yeah, he was just like in the way. It was like a pylon or something, like a cone. It was just like, can you just?
Yeah, I mean, he did the job, right? Like
he's like standing. It's like a basketball screen. He's just standing there, like setting a screen.
There you go. That works. Just be a cone, be a screen. That's fine. I mean, it's effective. It worked, I guess. I mean, we still won.
So, what'd you think of? I wanted to talk about that because you talk about the other guys going one-on-one. I don't think we saw a lot of wins from them in that scenario. Now, I think you could say I think Tershawn Wharton He looks really good. My guy, the Warthog, one of his better games, getting a couple pressures in there. Karlaftis was pretty quiet overall. Dana was pretty quiet overall. But it's also like the counterpoint to this is pretty easy, that like rushing Lamar is not really like pinning your ears back. It's, it's about keeping contain and, staying in your lane. And it's a lot of that instead of just like pure getting after Lamar and getting into the backfield. Because, Karlaftis comes bullying around the end. Like it's pretty easy. Lamar's elusive enough that he can just like, now he can slide up and then run to the open gap there. So it kind of changes all of the rules and the assignments for the D-line. But overall, they were not too impressive outside of Chris Jones. Would that be fair?
I thought in the run game, I thought they were excellent. I thought they really stuffed things up, and it was the Ravens' offensive line is not really moving the pile. They're not moving that line of scrimmage forward, a yard or two or whatever. They were playing, it felt like, in negative territory, so to speak. The defensive line was really getting a great push in the run game. I do think that Lamar, because of his escapability, and I mean, he's slimmer, Dirk. He's more agile. He can get out there. He can move and be quick.
He turned sideways. I couldn't even see him. Disappeared.
He's got to be the hardest quarterback to rush and bring. Josh Allen is probably the guy to bring down. He's that new Roethlisberger, where it's like just trying to tackle him is such a frustrating thing.
Or Mahomes, really, because he's just crafty enough and throwing the ball away. Usually, last night, aside from throwing one of the worst interceptions of his career, but we've seen him do that a lot, where he just kind of throws to where it thinks, he's trying to put it right at the feet of his receiver that's kind of running forward, and he just doesn't anticipate the linebacker being there. He's usually very good at that, but sometimes it can lead to like very ugly interceptions like that.
And that can't happen, Pat. Like that was into the half,
Wasn't great.
The Ravens then, ran however many plays and kicked a field goal, but they were in position to be able to score a touchdown. You don't want to see that. That was Pat's like low moment of the night.
I mean, put up with those, put up with the occasional mistake from Pat.
I mean, he's fine. I'm not
I keep him around. I'll keep him around.
Yes.
No, I'm saying not on the hot seat yet. Not on the hot seat.
I wouldn't like be down on the pass rush or anything because it's Lamar Jackson. I don't expect to corral him that many times in a game. I think it's important though that we do talk about the cornerback too. Everybody was looking at this position leading up to this game. We don't know who's going to start, so on and so forth. And Jalen Watson had a really tough third preseason game just because he was chasing Tyler Scott around all night long, somebody that would probably very rarely be covered by Jalen Watson in an actual football game. But I'll say this, man, I trust him. And I think that that's the most important thing that you can say about a corner. I trust Jalen Watson. We saw him make a play last night down the field when he starts with his back to the ball and is trying to cover someone who is clearly faster than him. And he is able to show that he's got the recovery and the makeup to be able to stick with him and then get his head around and then make a play on the football. And I'm telling you, I've seen Jalen Watson make that play 20 times since he got drafted, and he always seems to make it. I trust him. I really like this guy as a corner. And every time that he ends up like ceding snaps to Joshua Williams, whether maybe there's some injuries that he's dealt with. I know that he has talked about, didn't he play with like a bum shoulder the whole season or something? I mean, this guy has had to do some things physically that make it so that maybe they're trying to cap his snaps. But I just think that he's a clearly superior player to Joshua Williams. And I want to see as much Jalen Watson as they are willing to give me. Like I'm all in on this guy.
And we basically did. I mean, I've been championing Jalen Watson for years now, it feels like. But man, he is a stud. I love him. Him and Josh Williams both seem really good at those fly routes down the sideline. They're really good. Running with the receiver, turning the ball, finding the ball. That is a strength from both of them. It does seem like he played 96% of the snaps, Jalen Watson, so he does seem pretty locked into that cornerback 2 spot.
That's
So Joshua Williams only played 40%. So I think we kind of got our answer there. Now, they were doing some weird stuff last year where they're kind of going back and forth. Usually that was in game, though. I think we rarely saw games where they were, choosing one over the other. It was almost like switching off every couple drives or something. So might look like Jalen Watson has that 2 spot locked up, which is the correct decision in my opinion, and really good to see. I saw some people surprised at the Chiefs cornerback play, and I was not. I expected, we talked a lot about Snead in our preview, and, Snead was absolutely fantastic last year, but I think the Chiefs just went from, excellent at cornerback to good or great at cornerback. So trying to find how much they've fallen down, I think it is a downgrade just because Snead is really good. You kind of see a little bit of difference, Jalen Watson on that deep likely touchdown. I feel like he should have come up with that tackle. He should have tackled a guy in bounds on that final drive instead of letting him get out of bounds. And these are things that you kind of see from Snead, just from his physicality and his ability to tackle. That's one of the things we always loved about him. So you see a little bit of a downgrade there. But this is still a very good corner room with 2 guys that are coming in at second and third corner that have played a lot of football as young players. I mean, these guys are out here playing the Bengals trio of receivers in an AFC Championship game as rookies and holding their own and winning that game. These are good football players. There was no reason to think this is going to be it's not going to be a weakness on the team by any means. I was surprised that people were surprised at how good they looked last night. That was what I expected, was them to still look good. It was just a downgrade from last year being an excellent, McDuffie and Snead is about as good as you can get as a tandem in the NFL. So that was a little bit of a step down, but still great duo and trio.
McDuffie on the opening drive
looked
on that one route by Zay Flowers, and Collinsworth instantly goes into that. Wow, Zay Flowers, he's even too quick for McDuffie, and he's just fantastic, and so on and so forth. And McDuffie doesn't give up another catch the entire rest of the football game. And frankly, the reason that people are even thinking about McDuffie the next day is because he made that exceptional tackle on was that a 4th and short that he shut down? I can't believe they threw it to his side. I'm like, really? The All-Pro? That's what you guys decided? I am going to be curious, and when we, log back in next week, I think that we'll probably have some of these answers. I'll be really curious to see what it looked like when they went to nickel, because I think snap counts wise, it's probably going to.
I'm looking at them. So whatever questions you got, I'm looking at it right now. So a lot of Chenal last night, 60% of the snaps for Chenal. That kind of stuck out. So they're in base defense quite a bit. Connor got
Connor, right?
Say again.
A lot of Chamari Connor, right?
57% for him. Yeah. 40% for Joshua Williams. 22% for Felix. A lot of Wharton, 76%. So kind of stuck with the starting at D-line, a lot of base defense. And then Connor coming in a lot, almost going big nickel more than, true nickel more. I would say.
That's the Ravens, though, right? I mean, they're probably in 2 tight ends most of the night, right? They're going to be in these bigger packages. I mean, ultimately, it's probably not the best game to see what a coverage nickel really looks like for the Chiefs, because you're having to spy Leo most of that game too, right? Leo's out there, and he is your 4th. They kept lining up in that 3-3-5, and Leo is your 4th guy that's watching the QB. I mean, I liked.
I thought he let him pass him once on that final drive. But there was a couple plays before that. You could kind of see that he was playing spy in that position for I almost thought the Chiefs got too conservative on that final drive. The Ravens knew what they were doing. They're rushing 3, Chenal sitting there as the spy. And I thought they made it a little too easy on him, but I got it because it was just they're going to waste time, whatever. But yeah, I think for the most part, Chenal did a pretty good job in that spy role, which is kind of a question because that was kind of Willie Gay's, claim to fame last year, was spying these mobile quarterbacks.
I was surprised to see that Jaden Hicks did not play a single defensive snap after the way that we were not only talking about him, but the way that he's being deployed in the preseason. It's we're going to get this kid as many snaps as possible because we're trying to get him ready. Justin Reed didn't look even a step slow last night to me, despite not playing at all in the preseason. which is so interesting how it affects some guys and doesn't affect others, because he looked just ready, absolutely professional. And Baltimore is just a tough team to be able to see some of what I think we are most curious about, or at least I know I was when I was talking about like the 11th man on the Chiefs defense. I don't know how many snaps in the slot McDuffie got last night. And that is like the number one thing that I really want to see is when we go to 3 corners, is it McDuffie in the slot, or are they calling Chamari Connor a corner in that scenario maybe? Or is it big nickel? We don't even bring the 3rd corner on. And it looks like there's a good mix of that last night. Josh Williams getting 40% of the snaps. I would imagine some of those McDuffie's in the slot.
And you talked about Justin Reed looking fast out there. I think we got to talk about the hot topic for a lot of Chiefs fans today. Someone who was not looking fast out there, Mr. Nick Bolton. Had a bit of a tough game. Had one very bad play last night where he gives up the touchdown, obviously. A couple others where it's questionable if he's given up the swing route. I'm going to call this another segment we might trot out here, see if it picks up, the Zag of the week. Because there is a lot of Nick Bolton slander, which if you just think Nick Bolton's not a great player, I get that. I don't think he's a complete player by any means. I think he does struggle in coverage. I thought he did look particularly slow last night. Like, the worst thing he did was trying to turn and tackle Likely after he caught that. But I don't think he played like that bad last night. Like, I didn't get why Ryan left. Bye, Ryan. I didn't get why there was so much chatter about him coming out of last night. When I think that, the one bad play, and outside of that, like, I think the other one, it could have been him, or it could have been Joshua Williams was supposed to stay in that flat. And they end up giving that swing pass. So I'm not sure whose assignment that was necessarily. But, even the bad play, that's a really tough play for a linebacker to make. Like, a linebacker is not used to like turning and running with the receiver and then turning around and finding the ball. Like, that's an incredibly tough play to make. He did not make it look good. But we saw like Trent McDuffie in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. He didn't look good when he has his head turned to the ball, and then it comes and he's trying to make a play on it. Like, he looks kind of foolish doing that too. It's an extremely tough thing to do. That's why we praise people like Jalen Watson when they're able to do it. It's extremely tough, especially for a linebacker in a broken play where he's running downfield. So I don't think that was like as bad as it looked. The tackle attempt was really bad. I admit that. He did look slow. I will admit that. But I don't think he was as bad as people are making out to be as he was last night. That's my Zag of the week. To everyone's Zig, my Zag.
Oh, I want to zag with you, if I may. And
Zag?
I think that I'm always kind of prone to defending pretty much any Chief, unless it's just somebody that I, have enough built up anger with. And Bolton is a guy that I think I've pretty staunchly defended, really, against, the people that have just mostly, it seems like, highlighted his shortcomings instead of thinking about the stuff that he's good at, which is really what the Chiefs are about.
One of the things we talk about quite a bit is that it's easy to see his shortcomings. It's like, in pass coverage, you can see him get beat and allowing a catch. And it's tough to see what he's really good at, which is his intelligence and getting the defense lined up and helping Spagnuolo with, identifying what the offense is doing and that kind of stuff. That's really tough to see show up when you're watching a game on Sunday. So I think that's part of the problem with Nick Bolton, is that his weaknesses stick out and his strengths do not stick out.
So I'll piggyback on that, but I'm also not exactly in lockstep with you, because I think that you're right that probably what Bolton's elite traits are in terms of the communication, the knowledge of the system, the lining guys up and all that stuff. In a lot of ways, yeah, that might be really, really difficult to see. But I think we also know that Nick Bolton is, for all intents and purposes, a pretty excellent run defender. When he is playing at full speed and at full strength, this is a guy that hits really hard. He makes plays in the open field. And I think that he is a very tough, Andy would say dirty tough football player that helps set the tone for that defense. I think that Nick Bolton, frankly, is just average in coverage, pretty average. but people perceive him as being bad. And whether it's bad in coverage or just like a bad football player or not good enough for a contract, whatever, however you want to phrasing, right? But I think that there are people that are down on Nick Bolton for two reasons. Number one, he is so much better at other parts of his job than he is in pass coverage that the juxtaposition skews opinions. It's like you watch how much he can struggle in pass coverage, and it's like, God, he's just so bad at it. Because he's very, very adequate at all of these other things, and in fact, sometimes seemingly elite. But the number two reason that it feels like people are just down on Nick Bolton, the top guys at his position are worlds better in coverage. And so we think that like this one trait that they have, and they're way up here. Sure, I get that Roquan Smith and Fred Warner are so much better in coverage than Nick Bolton that like it's incomparable in some ways. But I think that Nick Bolton is right there with them on basically everything else except maybe pure speed. Like, I think that Nick Bolton is a quite fantastic football player. Here's one thing that I think is what felt clear to me, but maybe I'm wrong on, because I think that Nick Bolton, even himself, a week before the game, was asked how he was feeling health-wise, and he said he's at 100%. But he didn't look like it to me.
Yeah, did you? I was gonna say, as a defender, do you think he looked slow last night?
I didn't think he was anywhere near top condition. He didn't play a snap in the preseason. I think he missed a fair amount of training camp due to multiple injuries. Still, I think dealing with wrist and elbow, which certainly doesn't have anything to do with his speed. But I don't know, man. As a result, he just didn't look like himself in week one. If people want to talk about that game last night and say this is the Nick Bolton experience, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. I don't believe it. Nick Bolton looked especially bad last night. Honestly, probably one of his worst games as a pro, and that is not what we have come to expect from Nick Bolton. I didn't see the highs from him last night. I only saw the lows. And so that's
a good point.
I don't know. I am not down on Nick Bolton because of what we saw last night, because he just didn't look like himself.
I think there's two more reasons. I think he's divisive because there's a KU Missouri thing here that's kind of at play. And so I think that gets leaned into a lot of it. And it's just like KU fans arguing with Missouri fans about it. Neither of us are really involved with that at all. But then I think there's like this impending thought that he's going to get a huge extension. I'm not sure why everyone's so convinced he's getting that, just because Spags talks him up, I guess. And they spent a high pick on him, so that makes him likely to get an extension. I'm not sure why everyone is ultra convinced that he gets it, but people are ultra convinced that he's about to become like the top 3 highest paid linebackers in the league, and that changes the conversation. So a lot of people already have their mind wrapped around that, and I don't have my mind wrapped around that. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that we're re-signing him and bringing him back and making this highest paid linebacker. And once we do, I will start reevaluating him in terms of that. That changes how we look at Nick Bolton, and then he should be like a top 3 linebacker. If you're paid like that, you should play like that week to week. And I would be much harsher on him last night if that were the case, but it's not the case right now. He's still just a second-round pick that we're playing out their line. I saw people were like, well, we missed Willie Gay's athleticism, which maybe, but it's not like we have Tranquil out there. Like, Tranquil is the one that's replacing Gay. We didn't get like Tranquil and Gay playing together last year. I even texted Craig about this, and he said that they'd played very little together last year. So things aren't really changing unless you're saying Tranquil is just less athletic than Willie Gay, and that is hurting us, which maybe is the truth. But I want Drew Tranquil out there over Willie Gay 100 times out of 100. I don't care what the play is. I don't care what the assignment is. I want Drew Tranquil out there over Willie Gay, undoubtedly.
I don't disagree with you. I will also say in the same breath, I didn't notice Tranquil once last night. There's not a play of Drew Tranquil, good or bad, that I remember.
There's a play going around. You said you hadn't been on Twitter much today. There's a play going around, like the very first play of the game, and he chucks Isaiah Likely into Derrick Henry, and that's how he gets tackled. Like, he throws Likely like 3 yards straight into Derrick Henry, and that's the tackle. Like, that's how he goes on. And I think it's the first play of the game. Like, their first run of the game is how that happens. it wasn't like a great Tranquil. He wasn't out there making plays, but I think Tranquil's always kind of doing his job. He dropped in like the deep half. He played like a deep cover 2 for a snap as like a deep safety, which is just impressive to see a linebacker do. I am the full Drew Tranquil stan. I will always ride with him.
I mean, and at the end of the day, you said that like Tranquil is the Willie Gay replacement. I actually think it's Leo Chenal. Like, I mean, we even talked about how like Willie would have been the spy, but it was Leo. I do think, because you're right, it's a great observation that like not much, at least for week 1, changed from last season to this season, in terms of Tranquil and Bolden being on the field at the same time. Hey, Steve, your friend Ryan, just wanted to know if you were thinking about maybe putting your 2 best linebackers on the field at the same time, like much at all, you know? I mean, just friendly conversation, but I am curious.
Who are you talking about? Who? Steve
Spagnuolo.
Who are the 2 best linebackers?
Oh, I mean, it's for me, it's Bolden and Drew Tranquil. I mean, I just not playing these 2 guys together. I don't know. Well, I thought you were saying that they didn't get many snaps together last night either.
No. I was saying there people were kind of making a Nick Bolton point by saying they're lacking athleticism without Willie Gay out there. But I was saying that they've transitioned to, instead of Bolton and Gay, it's now Bolton and Tranquil. So there's not much has changed in terms of.
I haven't seen the snap count. Sorry for taking us on that detour. Welcome to Amateur Hour. Well, Dirk, I mean, we've done an hour on a game that just happened, less than a day ago, as we mentioned. And we're going to be back on Tuesday. We're going to get through this NFL slate. We're going to be thinking a little bit about this game as we make our way through the weekend. And ultimately, when we see you guys on Tuesday, we're going to talk a little Chiefs. We'll talk a little Bengals preview. Probably talk some NFL too. But Dirk, any closing thoughts before we exit the stage today?
I absolutely love that we have the Bengals up next. It just feels like, the magnitude of this season kind of setting in and just chasing the three-peat, thinking about how much all of this means, all the season means, all the games. And we're starting off with the Ravens and the Bengals in the first 2 weeks. And it's just like, I was having a tough time like getting up for the season. Just like, it's just, I'm not sure what it is, all the success or just like getting older or whatever. But last night's game being as dramatic as it was and playing the Ravens and then next week playing the Bengals, it's just going to be all the way fucking in now. It's throwing us into the fire, just getting us in there, ready to go now.
Yeah, it was an immense amount of fun watching the Chiefs back in action last night. And it feels great to be back in action ourselves here on KC Sports Network. Folks, this has been Amateur Hour. I am Ryan Scott Hall. He's his Dirkness. And the Chiefs are chasing their 3rd straight Super Bowl championship, starting with that win over the Baltimore Ravens, 27-20. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Briefs!